On May 26, 2013, Harrison Okene woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. Usually waking up to go to the bathroom is annoying, but in this situation, it was a blessing in disguise, because as it turns out, this was the decision that saved Harrison's life. Harrison Okene, a 29-year-old Nigerian cook, was working on board of the Sunken, a tugboat on a mission in the Atlantic Ocean. The boat set sail off of the coast of Nigeria to secure a large Chevron oil tanker full of gasoline. Harrison was part of a 12-member crew, 11 Nigerian men and their Ukrainian captain, all of them with a few years of experience at sea, so this was a normal routine for them. Because of the pirates in the region that were well known for attacking boats for their content, it was protocol that all the doors of the ship were locked. This might have been the reason why Okene survived and the others didn't, as he was out of his room at the time of the incident. As they slept, heavy rain, huge waves, and turbulent waters surrounded the ship. Around 4 a.m., just when Okene got out of his room, a huge wave slammed into the ship and turned it over, capsizing it. The powerful heat threw Harrison out of the room into a narrow hole. As water poured into the vessel, the boat began sinking fast, and Harrison, terrified in the dark, tried to find safety. As the boat settled at the bottom of the sea, about 30 meters below surface and over 30 kilometers offshore, Okene wandered around and found himself into a small washroom with a small air pocket. The bubble was just 1 meter wide, but Okene was grateful for it, as this was his only option to stay alive. While being alone in the dark, he had nothing to think about other than his worsening situation. He was also thinking about his crewmates, thinking that they might have evacuated to safety. He was alone and had no idea if anyone was searching for him, or if they would come in time to find him alive. The situation seemed hopeless, but he was set on surviving as long as he could. His temperature dropped drastically because of the freezing cold water, as he was only in underwear, so he left his air pocket in search of supplies, wandering around in complete blindness. He found some tools and 2 mattresses. He stacked them on top of each other, making a small platform to keep his body partially out of the water to reduce his body from losing heat. Okene was also thirsty and hungry. He could only manage to find a bottle of Coke, which had to be his food and his water for the next 2 long days. He tried to find a way to another air pocket because his bubble was slowly filling with carbon dioxide, but was unsuccessful. 2 days had passed without any progress. His only options were to pray and think about his wife, his family, his friends, and what would happen to them, how their lives would be without him. He was hopeless, with no sign that someone was even looking for him. He knew the CO2 buildup in his air bubble would eventually take his life if he wasn't saved in time. Meanwhile, above the surface, a team of South African divers from a nearby oil rig were sent to the shipwreck, but this operation wasn't a rescue mission. They were here to recover bodies, as nobody believed there could be any survivors on the ship at the bottom of the ocean. 4 bodies were already recovered, and everyone, including Harrison's family, thought all the crew members were dead. Nobody thought one man is still alive, praying for them to get to him before it was too late. On the other side, Harrison heard the team reaching the ship. He was hearing the humming of the boat's engine, an anchor dropping, and the paddling of divers. This was the potential rescue team looking for him. He tried to get their attention by using a hammer to hit the steel of the boat, trying to make enough noise to alert someone. But the Sunken was a large ship, so no one heard him as the divers were far away from him. One diver, Nico Herden, made his way into the officer's cabin, and then slowly he made his way to the officer's washroom, where Harrison was patiently waiting. Nico moved around, but the water was so dark he was not seeing much around him. When Harrison spotted the diver, he knew this was his only chance at getting out of here alive, so he took his chances and jumped into the water towards his potential rescuer. He reached out to touch the diver, but was careful not to scare him too much. Nico was shocked. He could not believe someone was still alive after all this time. He grabbed Harrison's hand to let him know that help is here, and then he screamed to his teammates that someone is alive. When they saw each other face to face, Harrison started crying, overwhelmed by the joy and disbelief that someone came to get him. He was rescued just in time. He would not have been able to survive much longer and was in the first stages of hypercapnia, a buildup of carbon dioxide in the bloodstream. He was saved, but his problems didn't stop there. Because he was trapped underwater for so long, he had breathed in a dangerous amount of nitrogen, and the effects of exposure are severe to the human body. When we breathe air at regular surface pressure, the body takes in the oxygen, replaces some of it with carbon dioxide, and some nitrogen and oxygen is dissolved in the fluid of our body, such as blood or soft tissue. But when the pressure on the body is increasing, for example deep underwater, a higher amount of nitrogen and oxygen is dissolved. The oxygen is used by our bodies, but the nitrogen forms bubbles in the bloodstream. If he were to rise straight up from deep water, the bubbles would be released in a painful way and most of the times fatal. That's why divers are required to rise slow and steady. The slower the rate, the safer it is. This allows your body to flush out and exhale nitrogen bubbles. That's why Harrison had to be returned to the surface slowly and carefully, so his life wouldn't be put at risk. The life support technician on duty at the surface, Alex Gibbs, when announced that someone is alive at the bottom of the ocean, quickly mobilized his team to put down an air hose into the room in which Harrison was. But because Harrison had been so saturated by carbon dioxide air, the divers had to switch to a mix of oxygen and helium, which is not standard practice, but was the only way to save his life and to get him out safe. Even after all the precautions, Harrison had to be placed into a special chamber to monitor the pressure around him, and had to do a bunch of decompression stops to help his body release nitrogen on the way to the surface. Nico was amazed on how calm the survivor was after all he had been through. As they slowly brought him to the surface, Harrison passed out because of the pressure change, but survived. On the surface, he was transferred into a diving bell under pressure because he was still at risk. Harrison had to spend 2 days being monitored into the chamber, which were 2 hard days. After that, he had nightmares. His skin was peeling because of how much time he spent into the water, and even though he was fed, his hunger wouldn't go away. In this time, he was told that none of his crewmates survived the shipwreck. 10 bodies were found, and 1 was completely missing. In total, he spent 3 days into the chamber after being decompressed and was safe for him to get out. And through this hard time, Nico, the one who found him in the first place, took care of him. He discussed with doctors, he brought him food, changed his sheets and gave him medicine. It was a miracle that he was still alive, and he was very grateful. He had PTSD after this incident, so he would have nightmares and he would have a deep fear of water. Even though he said he would never go into water again, 9 years later, Alex Gibbs, the life support technician on duty when Harrison was safe, had a pleasant, unexpected surprise when he met Harrison again at a diving job, working as a commercial diver. Harrison bravely overcame his fear and decided to become a certified commercial diver. When Harrison finished his training as a professional diver, Nico was the one who gave him his diploma. Now, after many years from that miracle, Harrison said that he feels like the ocean is his second home. He is calm and feels amazing underwater. He will never forget what he went through, but will always be grateful to the team that saved his life that day. This unbelievable survival story shows that the human body, if the mind and heart are in the right place, is able to survive anything when face to face to seemingly impossible odds. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and sharing it with a friend.